Good afternoon. This is my Wisdom Wednesday live, and was going to be 2 o'clock, but a little bit later than scheduled. And I'm talking to you today about bringing more feminine energy into the world. This is a special edition because it ties in with International Women's Day. For many, many centuries, women have really taken a back seat, and men have actually ruled the roost. And women, particularly of colour as well, have been suppressed, and we've been ruled by patriarchal societies. And when the world has been governed by men, where they've dictated the rules and the values by which those rules are determined, and men are by very nature predatory, hunter-like, and competitive. They are often ruled by the ego and the need to dominate, control, and compete, sometimes aggressively. And the cost of this has been to our huge detriment, with wars declared, with mass killings and exploitation of human and natural resources on a rather large scale. And our planet has been suffering as a result. And I believe COVID was really a backlash to this, part of nature or our planet's self-preservation. And more events like this could follow if we don't take heed and pay notice. But in the 20th century, women received the vote. And this started changing things a little bit. But women, instead of actually accessing more their feminine energy, they access more their masculine energy and try to take on men on their own terms. So using the same strategies and tactics. So really applying hustle, push, especially in the business world, hustle, push, slight bit of aggression, control. And of course, it doesn't really work, not for us intrinsically, because it's not really who we are as females. It's not really accessing the divine feminine. And if anything, it just makes it worse because, as I said, we're trying to level the game, or really the stakes with men in the wrong way. And so it's not compatible with our nature. And actually, using more the feminine way is more conducive to good leadership, to stronger motivation, higher inspiration, collaboration, empathy, and compassion, and especially empathy. So empathy has been an emerging word. I think definitely in the last year or so, we hear it more and more from leaders that we need to lead with empathy. So we need to bring this feminine energy into the world, into the home, into social spaces, into religion, and also the workplace. And feminine energy is naturally more caring, more about sharing, nurturing, more, dare I say, altruistic, and obviously less competitive, more collaborative. And I think that's the reason why there's no coincidence that more and more men are declaring their feminine energy to the point where they're saying, no, I am gay. But heterosexual men can still be masculine, but tap into their feminine nature, into their feminine attributes. So what does that mean? It means embracing their more open, vulnerable side, being more attuned to other people's needs and sufferings, and showing more empathy and compassion. And this is very, very important if they're in a leading role, because we lead by example. And for our world to survive and thrive, we need the balance of energy. So we need to correct this imbalance that we've been having for centuries, this predominance of masculine, and I say not the men, masculine energy, because the women have been culprits in this as well, because the way they've tried to, even the stakes or the level, the pickings is by accessing more the masculine rather than ramping up their feminine energy. And so we've been as much guilty of letting this happen. And so we need to even that. We need to even the feminine and masculine energies, what we call the yin yang in Chinese medicine, yin yang energy. So it needs to be 50-50 to be in absolute balance. And that's the way Mother Nature works. It is a full equal balance between masculine and feminine energies, between giving and receiving. So the giving is more the man, as we know, and the woman receives. That's how we procreate as well. So in International Women's Day, it is important therefore for women, especially, this is an important message for women, to take more control and more of a stand and be proud of who they are. Embrace their nurturing, their caring, their solicitous, collaborative energy in the workplace and at home, and also in social environments and in religious environments, and claim their value, claim their worth, and claim their self-belief and confidence. So many times I've been literally trying to make myself heard in male-dominated industries, in sectors where I would as a marketing professional. But, I was very much a shrinking violet, a little mouse afraid to speak up. Or when I didn't really give it my fullest conviction that I really owned that, owned my voice, owned my beliefs, owned my values. And as a result, they ricocheted and they didn't actually land. They fell on deaf ears and my suggestions were voted out. So it's really incumbent on the women today to really look within and to see what their gifts and their powers are, to really align to those and bring those forth and let those flourish. And if it needs a nurturing environment for that to happen, if you need to join a group of women, other like-minded women who are really active, not proactive in the sense of women's rights. No, it's active in a more subtle sense of being the role model, for her children, being the role model for our spouses, being the role model in society as a generally, bearing this banner of empathy, of compassion, of self-love. And I'm a member, a director of a Thriving Communities, a communities interest company. And we're all about waving that baton of self-love. And interestingly enough, we have been invited, my colleague Mel and I have been invited to present a self-love workshop for men, literally in just under 2 weeks' time. So it's interesting, isn't it, how there are subtle shifts, the tide is turning, and men are more open to listening to their heart energy. So I call it the head and the heart energies as well. If you hear a lot of my lives, I talk a lot about the heart energy. So the heart is more the feminine, the receiving energy. The head is more the sort of like output, analytical, masculine, left hemisphere, the brain energy, and the feminine is the right, and the intuition and the heart energy. And when you have the two working co-creatively, it absolutely creates this beautiful balance and flow energy. So everything would flow easier in our lives and on the planet. It'll be more harmonious. So it is important to recognize our gifts. And we can do this in whatever role we have. It doesn't have necessarily, as I say, have to be the workplace. We can do this in our homes and with our parents, with our mother, with our children, as a sister or whatever. And also as an employee. We don't have to necessarily run our own business, but we can still, stand up and be strong and own our values and speak about it. We can show more care, more consideration, more compassion and loving support, and be inherently strong whilst we do this. It doesn't mean weakness anymore. Whereas, the men would probably previously classify showing vulnerability, showing empathy as a weakness, as a sign of weakness. But it is no longer. It is a sign of strength, being open to sharing, because in sharing, we get other people on board, we get other people to buy in, to collaborate, to work on common ideals and common on shared values. So, really reflect, what are your values today? What are your ideas? What do you really want to happen in your lifetime? And, a good way of doing this is to project forwards, really to the end of your life, and looking back to see where you are now. What would you say to the person you are now? What would your old and wiser elder self say to the person now? Darling, I wish you would have done this, or can you do this? This is important for you. This is important that you wake up to the strength of the feminine energy in all of us. But particularly women have obviously the leading edge on this. They can certainly turn this tide quicker, almost quicker than the male switching in or hooking into the feminine energy. That can happen too, obviously, but it would take like centuries, many lifetimes to reverse that, whereas women have that already, but they just need to step into a little bit more, embrace that feminine and not be ashamed of it, and really live it in every area of their life. And it just fills and nourishes my soul to know that what the work I'm doing, whether it is as a coach, as a therapist, everything I say and communicate to my clients is all about this flow energy, about the balance between the masculine and feminine, and owning our worth, especially as women, because we have been shut down, quietened for so long. And we have lost our way, we've lost our sense of self, we've lost our identity. And it's now for us to really recognize who we are and what we want. We need to understand what it is, what sort of future do we want for ourselves and for our family, for our children, for our offspring. What sort of legacy do we want to leave behind? And then increasingly the work I'm doing in the communities, as a director of this communities interest company called Thriving Communities. And that's what the word says. It's all about thriving. I want everybody to thrive, not just women, but men. But I see women as playing a pivotal role. And because they are now really action takers, they are action oriented, and they are more I feel they are really inspired at the moment to be the game changers, the change makers, making this change, and making this difference on this earth, preserving the precious resources that we have, and living by care and consideration for ourselves, for the environment, for others, in a way that is synergistic, that is harmonious, that knows the balance of energies, and recognizes it. So when you are in burnout, if you are in exhaustion, overwhelm, you've been too much in the masculine energy, because that is all about trying hard for something, a goal, trying to hustle and push for something. The feminine energy is the flow. It just unfolds and allows and receives the prompts. It receives the guidance, the instruction. So let's get back to this feminine energy balance with the masculine. But let us, as women, celebrating International Women's Day today, is like own your value, own who you are, own your essence, own your vision for the future, for now. Step into that future vision now by taking the right inspired action. And if you want to play a leading role, then that's fine. But you can also play a smaller role. It only takes a knock-on effect of one person. If we made that role model for one other person, whether it is even our child or some member of our family or a good friend or a colleague, a peer, it doesn't matter. We lead by example. We lead one day and one person at a time. And that's how, because it has a knock-on effect, we're paying it forward. It ripples and ripples and ripples from one person to the next. And obviously there will be people like myself who want to impact on a multi-level, in lots of different ways, and on a bigger scale. That doesn't matter. It's not for everybody, but that's my vision. That's who I am and who I want. What are the values and the beliefs that I espouse and align to. And that's how I want to make a difference. So do feedback. Let me know your views on this. It did sound like a bit of a feminist pledge or at the beginning, but it is really, I'm encouraging men to as well to be more vulnerable, be more open to collaboration, to sharing, to nurturing leadership. That's important to enhance the feminine energy, but also I celebrate women who are really wanting to be strong and powerful in their own right as an individual, but also collectively in the work and this, whether that's in a social context, like thriving communities, it's the social business, or whether in some other business, even as an employee, you can make a big difference. So just know that, but it starts with ourselves. We've got to get clear on our values, on our truths, and our vision for the future that we want to create collectively. And that's so important. And I see this as so important, because otherwise I despair. I don't want to fall prey to despair. I don't want it. We have the power to undo, because this came up in the social business conference yesterday, about the idea of not mitigating or reducing the impact, of what we're doing on the planet, but to undo, to actually reverse engineer almost like what we've done to date, the damage we've done to our infrastructure, to our ecosystem, to our environment, because our children depend on it. They want to have a future to live for. They want to have a better environment. And all I see in the local community is a lot of anxiety and depression. And it really, really tears at my heart when I know things could be so much better. They just have to, because of the media, because of government. I'm sorry, it's all very male, egotistical based businesses that actually really almost brainwash the masses to think of that we are less than. We are more than able. We are capable. We are powerful, as Marianne Williamson would say. We are powerful beyond measure. We are powerful, more powerful than think. And we do not need to be shy of this power that we have. We have to let our light shine and our song be sung. So don't die. I've said this once before on the Wisdom Wednesday live, and a recent one. Don't die with the song unsung in you. So don't come to the end of your life and realize, what have I done? What legacy have I left? What did I live by my values? Did I live by my truth?